Hello. So that video from Santa Fe I'd done early in the week, like Tuesday, I think, and didn't upload it until I think it was Saturday, right? So my phone I kept starting it on the upload and it didn't finish, but I was using my phone for internet and things like this, so maybe that's why. The the thing is, I want to make a video. There's a lot of current affairs topics, and this was kind of going to be one, but then I figured, well, oh, hi, cat. Cat missed me. So I've been working really hard now. I spent a week. I don't like your butt as much as your face. Bring your face over there. Look at your pretty cat face. Look there, cat face. I don't want. They get up and then they stick their butt at you, and it's like, no, I'm not that kind of a mammal. Most other mammals are. What's wrong with you? Anyway, so I've been working really hard this week. I mean, I didn't work Sunday. We had to drive 4 hours to return some dogs that we were watching for relatives, and I just didn't want to. I had some time that I could have done it, but I wanted to spend time with my family and sort of avoid that. But I was eager to get in, and then so on Monday I worked, I think, 18 hours. Then the next day I got up like 10, started working, and I ended up working until 9 the next morning. So that's 23 hours. And then I slept till 4, but I did get a 9-hour day working in until, is that right? 9 till 1 or so. Went to bed at 2. And then I got back on a regular schedule yesterday, debugging this company's code that I'm working for. A lot of things are coming together. So far, so good on a plan that I hatched in Hawaii to sort of execute a sort of a 30-year long plan and plot that I've had that seems to be coming together. Knock on wood, seems to be coming together. Part of that plan is working on this ResponseDB more. I will get back to that. And insofar as it'd be nice to have this being able to take priority over paying work, I think I might try to promote the Patreon after the next version. And I realize what I want to put in the next version is I'm going to put in some buttons that you can click while the video is going when you see something you like. And then it'll compile that and show people a graph of, the highlights and lowlights. And it won't just be thumbs up and thumbs down, though. It'll have different kinds of pairs, different set of dichotomies that are thumbs up and thumbs down, but in different topic areas, like whether it was entertaining or not, whether it was well informed or not, whether it was seemed honest or dishonest, these kinds of things. So that should be fun. I would like for that part of the plan to come together. The part that is coming together is this kind of a data processing framework that's related to code I've been working on the last 10 years, and I would like to to use that in commercial settings, and this first contract that directly involves that, so that's good. Learned a lot of things about the current job environment in my industry, and I don't know, I was blogging about that, but it's just hard to keep going with the blog. And Tat wants attention. Tat says, oh, you have attention to spare? Well, tats are more important. Yeah, they are more important, especially monochromatic tats. So, anyway, current affairs wise, it's just kind of things are coming together. There's this Ebola scare, and there's the deal in the Gaza Strip. Some big trucks coming along, cleaning the street or something. No, just somebody's big tractor they're driving. So, with a lot of those things, like with the Ebola, it seems like, well, you have to be, the plane that was flying that first American in came through the Bangor airport. Bangor was my destination coming back home. I'm not too worried about it at all. I'm not worried about it at all. But I do think it's a worry for the world, it's something, and yet it just seems so annoying because I feel like if we weren't spending so much time on blowing each other up and killing each other and all the money on the espionage and secret governments and wars and stuff, then it wouldn't really be that hard. I mean, even with old school technology, like Warbles On a lot was talking about how you know, if you had a quarantine period, you know, people had to be quarantined that really wanted to travel when there was a worldwide outbreak, you know, that would solve the problem. That would prevent the problem. And I think the reason we can't avoid that is everybody's just working so hard because we have this little teeny tiny piece of the world wealth is in the hands of the majority of the people. So, you know, people don't have time to take time or defer their trips. We're just not in the right cultural situation. Then the other thing is just the hypocrisy, like with the Ukraine and stuff, you know, or the Ukrainians or the Russians via the Ukrainians or whomever shot down that Malaysian plane over the Ukraine. You know, I think that's terrible. There really is no excuse for that. But I hate the way Americans will point the finger and talk about how totally unexcusable and there can be no excuse when you could get the same talking heads back the last time, you know, the Americans did it, saying, well, was this an accident? What else could they have done? And oh, it's totally understandable. It's that hypocrisy that drives me nuts. Or the idea that, you know, Hamas is using civilians, women and children as human shields. Well, that's something you just sort of have to stand up and take notice of. If people are willing to stand in front of bullets with no defense other than dying from the bullets, that sort of tells you their take on the situation. It's not really how criminal organizations operate their criminal organizations, right? If people are willing to do that, then you should probably pay attention. You know, it should be an effective tactic. Realizing that people are able to convince non-combatants to hang out in combat zones is not an excuse to go ahead and just kill willy-nilly. I mean, it actually does have an impact. On the other hand, as I was saying in my video in Santa Fe, I think the main thing we as Westerners can do is largely stop being a part of the problem. You know, see how much that improves things. And then maybe after that we could offer health and wealth. But I'm just kind of struck with how hypocritical the Western world is, not just Americans, and also just how much wealth there really is in the world. And we're not seeing it put to the things that make life better for everybody. And the fact is, you know, this idea that, oh, you can't make life better for everybody, there's not enough. We know that's a lie. Okay, there's enough wealth if you include all the stuff we're spending on war and to have hegemony and to help foreign corporations so that we can have an edge in on their business. There's plenty of money for the kinds of things that in the last 30, 40 years, if not longer, have been proved to help the situation of people, and, you know, that prove measurable quantities like, you know, reducing child mortality, increasing lifespan, increasing personal wealth. We know how these things are done, you know, getting population under control. Any of these problems, we know how to make progress. The progress on not having war, the only difficulty there is all the people that do want to have war and their ability to continue to profit from it. And we're in a really sort of scary point historically if you look back and realize how bad things can get when, you know, the CIA is caught lying to the Senate, spying on the Senate, lying about it, admitting it, apologizing, and who's going to jail? I mean, there are people that are literally, and organizations literally above the law, and that's never a good thing. Okay, that is not a good thing, period. Now, why are people putting up with that? Psychological problems. I don't see any other way to define it. We might not know exactly the nature of those problems, but there's certainly no material explanation as to why that would happen. And then I really want to start making a series of videos where I've given a name to some of my ideas about the idea that, you know, parameciums are alive, controversial things like that. And I've decided to call it phantasmagoricalism. And, you know, it goes in both directions. It's how consciousness decomposes into parts that are also conscious and therefore can compose itself into parts that are conscious. And you know, definitely the bigger ramifications of some of the things we talk about is the nature in which the universe is a proto-conscious. It's ready. The raw materials are there. Just like all atoms are magnetic, but you only see macroscopic objects that are what we would call magnets when all the little tiny microscopic magnets are aligned. So their magnetic fields are aligned, and they can, they can add up constructively instead of interfere destructively, right? And I think the same is true with will and consciousness. And people that think that that's woo-woo kind of stuff, I think it's funny, because if you're a materialist, Kat, if you're a materialist, then you know that whatever consciousness is, whether free will is true or not, whether there's willpower, whatever, the thing we call consciousness, and whatever it is, exists in this real world. It's real, right? Discussing the nature of consciousness is not like going into ghost land, because if that was the case, then we would say we do believe in ghosts. That's where consciousness really is in some meta world, in some metaphysics, in a supernatural world. Those of us that are naturalists and believe everything that you see has a natural explanation, we have to include consciousness in that. So I appreciate all the arguing we've done on that, because while my ideas have evolved some, they've also, I've had my ideas on that subject for, decades, and the main benefit is how we pour over these things. We arrive at language, and to describe and discuss it further. So I don't have time for that because I'm working really hard. I'm taking a little half an hour here because I set down some of my debugging work because I'm talking to these guys about a partnership of another business that we're starting, where I would just sort of have a consulting role to do it first, but in the long run, it might be a pipeline for selling software solutions. So yeah, there's a lot of, that tractor is some sort of a street cleaner. They actually have infrastructure here in Maine, even though Maine is not a rich state. They spend some of the money they do have on plowing roads and things. It's kind of nice. It's not that way in Hawaii. Guess I'm glad not to be in Hawaii, but my my dad's still there, and I know a bunch of people in Hawaii. I'm trying to find out how bad it was. Doesn't sound like it was too bad in the end. They can handle 16-hour winds, 100-mile-per-hour winds. That gets to be a little bit iffy. So yeah, so those are the things I would have talked about if I'd had time, but I didn't. So there you go. I continue to think Maine is paradise, and while Hawaii is a kind of paradise too, and everybody tells you it's paradise, it didn't really click quite with me in that sense. And but this is just gorgeous here. I was really in love with the fireflies, but I guess they don't last all summer. I haven't seen any since I got back from Santa Fe, and it had died down to just a few before I left. So yeah, that's it for now. Talk to you all later. And Kat,